Hi, it's Destiny from Fate of Destiny. Today I'm going to do a disassembly and reassembly of a Springfield M1911 A1 loaded. Part of why I want to do this is just because this is an awesome gun. It's a completely different feel from the Kimber that I did a video on previously. It feels more solid, it's weightier, it has a longer barrel, so it gives you a completely different experience at the firing range. Another part of why I want to do a video for this is because I've seen a lot of great videos on this process, but none of them have been done by a woman. The tools I'm going to use for this are a 5/32 Allen wrench, a small flathead screwdriver, a pencil, and safety goggles. To begin with, I'm going to clear the weapon. And decock. Then I'm going to use the Allen wrench to remove the guide rail. Now I'm going to put on my safety goggles. Now, because I don't have the burly man hands you guys out there have, I have a different trick that I've developed for removing the recoil spring plug and rotating the bushing. So I'm going to zoom in and show you that. I'm going to use this flathead screwdriver to depress the recoil spring plug so that I can rotate the bushing. This is part of why I have the goggles on. This spring is under so much tension, it's very likely for this plug to go flying across the room. Now that the spring is released, on some models you can remove the spring at this point. Because mine is so new, I only have about 300 rounds through this gun, the spring is still very taut around the recoil spring guide. So I'm going to remove the whole thing at a later point in the disassembly. For right now, I'm going to zoom in on the slide. I need to move this takedown notch to be in line with the slide stop. This allows me to push this pin on the other side of the gun to be able to remove it. Now that I've removed this pin, I can slide the slide forward off of the frame. I hold on to the slide like this because there are still pieces in there that will need to be removed. From here, I'm going to remove the recoil spring, and I'm going to remove the recoil spring from the recoil spring guide. I'm now going to rotate the bushing and remove it. Keeping the barrel length forward, I'm going to remove the barrel. You now have a completely field stripped weapon. To begin the reassembly, I'm going to start with the slide. As I replace the barrel, I'm going to be watching the position of this barrel link, because this barrel link is where the slide stop pin is going to attach to keep the barrel attached to the frame. So I need to make sure that it stays aligned. Next, I'm going to replace the bushing and reattach the closed end of the spring onto the recoil spring guide, all the way to the edge. The curvature on the recoil spring guide is going to follow the curvature of your barrel. From here, I prefer to slide the frame into the slide. At this point, I used my small flathead screwdriver to maneuver the barrel link to make sure that it is in alignment with the holes in the frame. This will make sure that the pin pops into the right place. Now begins the tricky part. First, I am going to align the disassembly notch on the slide with the slide stop on the frame. I'm going to use the screwdriver to depress the plunger and lightly push the slide stop into place. Now be careful when you're doing this that you don't scratch your weapon with the force that you exert with the screwdriver. hard part's over. From here, I'm going to put my safety goggles back on because I'm going to put the recoil spring plug back in. Again, because I don't have burly man hands, I have to struggle against this spring. So I have a different technique I've developed in order to manage that. I replace the plug and use my fingers to push the spring in, to compress the spring. Then I rotate the bushing to catch the edge of the plug. Next, I use the flathead screwdriver to push the plug flush with the slide to be able to rotate the bushing the rest of the way. Then now I can take off my safety goggles. The last part of this is to replace the guide rail. It's fighting against that recoil spring, so you need a little bit of pressure to push that down. Sometimes, even as you twist the Allen wrench in, you might want to apply a little bit of pressure to make sure that spring scooches right where it needs to. You want to tighten this a little bit tighter than finger strength. Now, to test that I've assembled this weapon correctly, I am going to use the Armory channel's pencil trick. Place a pencil into the end of the barrel, aim in a safe direction, and fire. If the pencil jumps out, that means that I've reassembled the gun correctly. If it doesn't, you've missed something and you're going to want to take a step back to look at what went wrong. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.